So another thing about the Atlanta Falcons is when we start looking at who has the most pressure to step up their game, I certainly think Desmond Ridder has the most pressure on him to to become either a competent quarterback or, certainly, potentially the starting quarterback for a full season. I think that there is pressure on him. But who is the number two guy? Who's the number two guy for the Atlanta Falcons? I think it's Arnold Ebiketie. Now, looking at Arnold Ebiketie's grade, it was a 64.5 Pro Football Focus grade. Arnold Ebiketie was listed as one of the guys that is an early breakout candidate for the Atlanta Falcons. Pro Football Focus had this write-up about Ebiketie. Atlanta's offensive players have already broken out. That's obviously Tyler Algier, Drake London, or at least we know what they're capable of with a real quarterback. But the defense is lacking players that are primed for success. Ebiketie managed 28 pressures across 303 pass rushing snaps in his rookie season, and he tallied 14 defensive stops on the year. His best game came in his first start. And remember, I was screaming about for the end of the year about let's start Ebiketie, like sit Ogundeji and get Ebiketie in. Well, it turned out that his best game was the game that he started in. They say that there's not much data that says that Ebiketie is a likely breakout candidate, but he is a talented prospect, so it is possible. Now, Ebiketie finished the year with 2.5 sacks for the Atlanta Falcons, which, again, that was third on the team. Lorenzo Carter, Grady Jarrett were the two guys that had more. But we did invest a second-round pick in Ebiketie. And if there's a guy that needs to have that step-up type season, because I would anticipate that he's going to start the year. Like he's going to be your starter all the way through. Whether Lorenzo Carter's on the other side or not, they re-sign him. Certainly Ogundeji doesn't need to start anymore, okay? That's a real stopgap, and maybe he did a couple things against the run, but he's a dreadful pass rusher, and he doesn't need to be a starting defensive player in the NFL. Let's put it that way. He shouldn't start at the edge, okay? He's a little bit better than Steven Means, but not a whole lot better. All right. So Ebiketie, I think, is a guy that could he break out? Could he have a productive season? Yeah. But I think really the thing with Ebiketie is I think you have to have somebody pretty good on the other side of him. It feels like if defenses can focus on him and take him away, and we don't have that complementary piece that goes along with it. And I'm not talking about a Lorenzo Carter. I'm not talking about a guy like that who, yes, he did some good things and all that kind of stuff, but he's not a pure pass rusher. He's not a guy that's a pure pass rusher. I'm talking about somebody on second and third down whose mission in life is to get to the quarterback, right? Who could complement what Ebiketie does. And I don't think he had a bad season, but certainly there's a lot of pressure for him because look, I don't know what D'Angelo Malone is going to be. That was their third round pick. I don't know that he's more than a rotational guy. I don't know that he's and we had some high hopes and expectations for what these guys were and what they were going to be out there. And I don't know that D'Angelo Malone is more than a rotational guy. Maybe he could do some things, but if with all due respect, if I could get D'Angelo Malone in a rotation and he could come up with 4 or 5 sacks, I'd take that. I'd take that. But Ebiketie is a guy who, was a very productive player at Penn State. He was a really good pass rusher there. And you did spend a second round pick, which certainly is supposed to be a starter for a number of years in the NFL. And, you traded up to go get, I think it was, you traded up to go get Ebiketie, and you didn't give up much for it. But I mean, you wanted to go get Ebiketie because of his pass rush ability. And I would still say, look, staying the course, finding a pass rusher at number 8 to put on the other side of Ebiketie. And if I could get a pass rusher at 8 and I could have Ebiketie out there, okay, then maybe we can do some stuff. Maybe we can figure out a way to be a better sack team. And then I add in a Justin Houston who can be a third down specialist and go pick me up, a handful of sacks. I always say that the number to reach is 40 sacks. The number that you have to hit is 40 sacks. To be a playoff caliber defense, to be a team that can, get themselves into the playoff picture, you have to be a 40 sack defense. Now, the exception to that is if you have Tom Brady and you have the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. But outside of that, you need to be a 40 sack defense. It's not a surprise that the two teams that are home in the AFC and NFC championship game, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, also lead the NFL in sacks. They're 1-2 in the NFL in sacks. So you've got to get that number to 40. And if I can have Ebiketie be a guy, even if he doesn't develop himself into a 12, 15 sack guy, would we love that? Yes. I don't see that kind of jump. It's one of those things that when you come into the league and, the top tier guys come into the league right away sacking the quarterback. The Myles Garretts, the Bosa, Khalil Mack, Von Miller. Those guys, when they come into the league, they immediately start picking up, accumulation numbers of sacks. Okay. 2.5 sacks is okay, but there is room for growth. But I do think that Ebiketie, whoever the defensive coordinator is going to be, and listen, with Steve Wilks now on the marketplace, that's another guy who is certainly an aggressive, guy defensively. He likes to get after the quarterback. I certainly think that an aggressive style defensive coordinator could really benefit Ebiketie. And starting, it was way past time for Ebiketie to get some more starts. And the fact that he only got one start, I don't know. Again, there's this, the Dean Pease thing is, maybe we don't start some of our rookies and we're not going to start them till they're ready and things like that. But if you got a guy that's just got some natural talent, turn him loose and see what he can do. And then find out, listen, more than you find out what all of his upside is, you find out what all of his flaws and warts are. You find out all of the bad first, that you can identify that and fix that, besides just what your ceiling is going to be. But I think Ebiketie, next to Desmond Ridder, has the most to prove this upcoming season. That they need Ebiketie to be, even if it's just 7, 8, 9 sacks, and he's not that 12 to 15 sack kind of guy, they need a big step up for him. Because if not, if Ebiketie can't be more than, 3, 4, 5 sacks, this team is going to have to way overspend, and they're going to have to tie up a bunch of money in free agency or use really high draft capital. And, whether it's you sign a big time pass rusher, or you spend, your highest amount of draft capital on that guy. You got to have Ebiketie come up and step up and be a part of all of this. So I think Ebiketie has the second most to prove for this Falcons team. All right, we want to mention to you to make Locked On Sports Today your second listen every day besides Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery. Biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts from.